All right, welcome back in. It's the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Obviously talking a lot this morning about Michael Bennett, who yesterday was indicted for allegedly injuring a 66-year-old paraplegic woman after Super Bowl 51. Rusty Hardin, who is one of Michael Bennett's attorneys, says that Michael Bennett is out of the country but will surrender when he returns. So let's head down the turnpike from our New York studios to Philadelphia and welcome in John Barchard of 94 WIP and also BGN Radio. John, it's Zach Gelb. Great to talk to you as always, and how are you?
Good, pal. How are you?
All right, so let's get into this messy situation because I have a lot of questions about it. Let's first start off with the timing. Super Bowl 51 was 14 months ago. I understand the Houston Police Department did say they were prioritizing other cases and they have a lack of resources. How about the timing? 14 months later, this finally comes out and they finally have an indictment.
We'll definitely get into that, but also just the timing in general of like a Friday afternoon press conference that came out of nowhere. And I know grand juries are a little different because that's like super, super, super secret. There's not a lot of public records that end up going to that. But like, what a weird time for a news dump like this as well. So like, I don't know. There's a lot of different angles to this thing, but specifically with the timing, I think all of it's weird. I think the story that they came out with in the press conference saying that, you know, a cop tried to detain him after this incident, and there was a large description of he came through this big locked metal door and burst through that and then burst through security to get onto the field, and you're just going like, this is a very weird story, and for this to take 14 months and to not just arrest the guy, which seemed like a security threat, going onto the field, and then no contact between Seattle, apparently, or Philadelphia. And they also announced that they said that they have, they've tried to make contact and it's been very hard. I mean, there are a lot of people who know where Michael Bennett is and how to talk to him. So that to me seems a little strange. And granted, there's still a long way to go as far as other details that are coming out in this, but certainly her sister was pretty adamant about it on Twitter today. So the timing is very weird here, Zach.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of questions to be answered here, and we're going to see how this plays out. But I just look at it in the description from the chief today that you have the officer who approaches Michael Bennett. He allegedly tells him to F off. I'm still going on the field. And then he says, all right, he's not going to be that much of a threat. Let me go help the victims. And then no one sees Michael Bennett for the rest of the night. Like, how couldn't you not track him down? That's a question I have of this. Not picking a side here because, you know, I have trust issues with Michael Bennett, but that's something that just raises an eyebrow in this whole case.
Well, and certainly I think that's where a lot of this is coming from. And I think, well, actually, I don't know how you feel about it, but I certainly was blown away by the evidence that we have now with the Las Vegas incident, practically just lying or misleading the public on exactly what happened after the Las Vegas police had, released that video. And granted, I know it's edited, but that certainly made me look at him in a very different light. I was very upset and mad about that. I think people are latching onto that in the same incident and going, well, he already doesn't have any credibility with a lot of this stuff, so they're diving right into, so this must be true also. And that's where I kind of turn my head and go like, yeah, the same thing. Like, there are just so many weird holes to this of, why wouldn't you go and not impose a security threat? Also, like, there had to be somebody else with a camera because they're saying that they don't have pictures, they don't have video. It's just eyewitness accounts, which are notoriously bad in any kind of court cases, and they're used all the time. But eyewitnesses aren't great, and when your only other eyewitness is another police officer, that's pretty much it. What else is the other side of that? So nobody in the crowd, nobody in the tunnel, no one had a camera going on at all during the Super Bowl where everyone is celebrating. I find that very, very weird. So once again, unless there are more things to come out here, this looks like it's a nothing type of case, and I don't know what is exactly happening with the security people, or how what kind of assault it was. And I was talking to a couple lawyers today that were saying, yeah, Texas is kind of notorious for just slapping on larger charges than it needs to be. I mean, it sounds like so damning, a felony assault case. You're like, oh my God, it sounds like he beat up this person, just randomly did all this stuff. But much like NFL contracts, they sound big and bold. the end of the day, we don't exactly know how bad it really was.
And that's the big question. Was there malicious intent behind this, or was the guy just acting like a jerk, was told he can't go on the field, maybe had a few drinks in him like they alluded to in the press conference today, and just maybe gently brush someone trying to just get on the field, power his way through? That's something, and I wish we had a video in this because it would be easy to tell how this whole thing went down.
Yeah, and like you hear the quotes of all the stuff that he allegedly said, and you go, yeah, I could hear Michael Bennett absolutely saying that. Like, not one question about it. I don't think he has the type of character to, just like you were saying, physically just go after somebody just because, like, oh, yeah, I'm not getting my way. I don't feel that is in Michael Bennett's character. There's some other things you can question about, certainly, but that's definitely not one of them. And this feels like I don't know. It feels like it might get dragged out for a long time. My gut is telling me that this will go away. Michael Bennett will still be a part of the Eagles season, but who knows? I don't know what's going to happen at the end of the day. There's just so many answers that you need, and I think people are basing a lot of their opinion on really not much. Based on my Twitter mentions, everybody's fighting for the last 6 to 8 hours just based on being the messenger here. So I would just advise people wait until there's all of the information that is in front of you, especially there's apparently, just like we were saying with his sister, she does have video evidence of that, but she's being advised by lawyers not to release that at this point. So I don't know. It's a weird situation. It's very weird timing.
John Barchard with us right now on the Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio, of course, talk show host at WIP, and also does great work with BGN Radio. You have such a public figure in Michael Bennett, who is very loquacious, very much in the spotlight. And this happened allegedly 14 months ago, and somehow it's kept quiet. I know I saw the Derek Gunn report, who is a reporter for NBC Sports Philadelphia, that sources told Tim the Eagles and Seahawks did not know of this until today. Do you believe that? Because if you look at what he was traded for, and I know there's other circumstances into it, it wasn't a whole lot for his talent. It's hard to believe that, hey, the Eagles and the Seahawks and the NFL maybe just found out about this yesterday.
I do believe that they had no idea, and
okay.
On both teams, and here's why. There is the head of security for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Dom
is
Big Dom.
100% on top of everything. In fact, I would call him one of the best in the country to find things out. That's his job. If Dom does not know about this, and they made a trade with, value in a crucial situation where you're trying to get back to the Super Bowl, and I know it doesn't look like much to all they did was swap 5th and 7th. Like, that matters. All of that stuff matters to get a player like Michael Bennett, and for Seattle the same way. That's gonna affect relationships if either one of them didn't know. Obviously the Eagles would have probably questioned it and did some research on it before making a trade. Seattle, if they didn't know and it comes out that they did know, then that looks really bad. That's bad business, making a trade in the NFL. So I do buy that they did not know. It's weird that the police department did say that they've been in contact with the NFL, and nobody else kind of knew about that. I don't know if that's just from today or from the past, but again, it's really weird that no one got a sniff of this coming out, which again leads to a couple of. Now, I'm not saying that I'm 100% right here. They could both be lying about it. It just logically to me, I do believe that neither of the teams knew that this was going on.
Do you think Michael Bennett was surprised by this news yesterday?
I think so. He's out of the country, that's the other thing I just can't understand. I don't see Michael Bennett just completely ignoring this either. Like, if he knows that there's a grand jury trial and that he is going to get indicted in the next couple of days, or there's a great chance that he's going to get indicted, I'm sure he would probably tell somebody. I at least I assume, like, out of legal necessity, letting his new team know that this is coming, and like just be prepared for this, not go on vacation, not just go hang out and enjoy life until you got to get to OTAs and training camp and things like that. Like, I'm sure. Here's the thing: I'm sure Michael Bennett knew this was something, but the warning shot that it might be coming, probably not. Like, it doesn't seem like anybody was prepared for this. This really seems like the Houston Police Department wanted to get out there and kind of make a name for itself. To show whatever they want to show, that football players aren't above the law either, and we're going to make an example of Michael Bennett. That's what it looks like to me.
And you expect Michael Bennett to be on the Eagles next year, right?
I don't know, actually. I that's something that I look at what they did with the pick swaps, and sure, you can say, well, they lost 2 rounds of it, but he still has a contract. We could go and release him. I think he's got at least one great year of football left in him. I don't know if he's going to be here after next year for cap salary reasons or whatever, what's happening with Brandon Graham. There's a lot of different questions after next year, but I would say there's a good chance he might not be.
Talking to John Barchard right now on CBS Sports Radio. All right, let's take a look at the NFC. Obviously, the Eagles are the top dogs, just winning the entire thing with the Super Bowl. Vikings, they were in the NFC Championship game, came up very short as that was a lopsided margin. Case Keenum had 2 bad turnovers in that game. The Vikings go out, they acquire Kirk Cousins in free agency, also bring in Sheldon Richardson for an already very good defense. How far is the gap right now between the Eagles and the Vikings, in your opinion?
I would say it's pretty close. As much as I don't think Kirk Cousins is a humongously spectacular quarterback by any means. He's certainly better and more consistent than Case Keenum. And yeah, I know that they had similar years, but with Diggs and certainly with Thielen, they're upgrading their defense. Their defense was already good, so they're trying to do that. I think the gap is a lot closer. I don't think it was that far apart to kind of begin with. So the Vikings are kind of going in there, and the thing that makes me scared in Philadelphia is it's not just Cousins, it's also the Cousins and DeFilippo combination. I was wildly high on John DeFilippo. I think he's got an amazing future ahead of him. I think he's a brilliant offensive-minded coach who probably doesn't get enough credit nationally. So those two together, I think it's very dangerous in that offense. So if you're a Vikings fan, I think you should feel pretty good about your chances this year.
And how far are the Rams off from that conversation of being in the same category as the Eagles and the Vikings?
I think they're right there. I think San Francisco is another one to look out for, and certainly the Saints as well, as everybody's trying to arm up, but no more than the Rams there. I mean, it seems like they're going all in, right? Like we have a 2-year window with our rookie quarterback, and then we'll make some decisions after that. Wade Phillips obviously wasn't happy with the guys that he had. They made some major moves. Quinn is out. They Peters to leave. Trying to get the band back together here. So when you're doing that, I think that's why I kind of look at the Eagles and what they have upcoming for them, and they got to make some tough decisions because they don't have many picks, but. I would start to think, especially with the addition of Mike Wallace that they just signed yesterday, that you're going to see more offensive firepower to kind of try and match some stuff with the Rams are doing. And not that they don't have that already. It's just, Alshon Jeffrey might not be ready for week 1. You might be Nick Foles again for the first couple of games of the season, maybe the end of them too, by the way that, Carson Wentz has kind of been banged up thus far. But it's really interesting. I mean, it's a lot tighter than I think it was when the Eagles went on this run this previous season now, and they got to be ready. I mean, there's a lot of people coming for their title, and it's incredibly hard to win one. I think we're at eight teams that have won back-to-back Super Bowls in the history of this game, so it's not going to be tough, and these guys are certainly not going to make it any easier the way they're building their teams right now.
And I'll end you on this one as we're talking to John Barchard, wrapping up with him on the Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio. Just because you're at the Combine, now you take a look at that draft order. You have the Browns 1, the Giants 2, and then the Jets 3. How do you think 1, 2, and 3 play out? Who goes where 1, 2, and 3 in this year's draft?
I'm going to say that it is Donald, and I know that goes to the Browns. I just feel like Hugh Jackson and throwing in the rain is his ultimate test, and that's going to influence Dorsey and the rest of the guys to take it, and certainly that wouldn't surprise me either. I would, at this point, be pretty shocked if the the Giants take a QB. I don't think that's in their plans. I think Dave Gettleman, you've heard Chubb, you've certainly heard Saquon Barkley, and it'll be really interesting to see what they do, and if they're fine with Eli Manning being there for the next few years, God bless them. If they think that they can go and win with Jonathan Stewart and Nate Solder and those guys, That would be very interesting to me. I think that would make a lot of Eagles fans pretty happy nonetheless. And then the Jets, I don't think they make that move unless they know what's going on, and people keep saying, well, hey, you don't do that, or excuse me, they're just like, they'll take whatever's left over. That's not how NFL franchises work. Now, granted, the Jets could be really incompetent and do that and just be like, we'll take this quarterback or that quarterback.
Wouldn't it be a shocker?
Yeah. I think that they know what's going on. I'm pretty sure that they know where Cleveland's going. They certainly know where the Giants are going. I don't think they do that without a guy that they know they can trust and really like. It kind of feels like that's going to be Josh Allen. And, I don't know. That kid is going to be boom or bust, and I hope that for the Jets family that he is more boom than he is bust.
In 30 seconds or less, last one for you, John. Who's your favorite QB in this draft?
Honestly, still Baker Mayfield. It's the winning mentality. I think he's the most accurate passer that's in here. I don't think he's going to be a Hall of Famer by any means, but he's going to be a guy that's going to go win you football games. He's my one. I would say Rosen's two. Lamar Jackson's right behind him, and the distance between those guys aren't much. So there you go. Baker Mayfield will get you a championship, hopefully.
He's John Barchard from WIP and BGN Radio. Johnny, great to talk to you. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it, man.